We have 4 distinguished panelists here. Dr. Nagesh Kumar, Dr. Adarsh Sharma, Ashwini Bhatt.
He's here. I'm not a professor. I'm just Ashwini Bhatt.
You just say that this is a
Yeah.
professor, you can just reference. So,
She's Professor Suma Athare from IIT Delhi.
in the team. Okay. Good. Okay, let me regulate a bit. Time assigned for our panel is 1.5 hours. I hope we can stretch it by 5 minutes.
We are already 10 minutes delayed, so it's okay. No problem. Yeah, we'll keep that.
I'm not calling the delay.
Yeah,
I'm starting from now.
yeah, correct.
Okay. I will request the panelists to take about 12 to 15 minutes. 15 at the upper limit.
Right.
And leave a little time for me also. So may I request now Professor Nagesh Kumar
Thank you very
and
much.
define your own specific topic within this broad
Right.
field of
Right. Can you put it up? Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Very happy to be part of this panel discussion. I'm going to speak on this Industry 4.0, the new digital revolution that is surfacing or already quite rampant, and every day one hears something about new innovations coming into the market. Could I have the point? Yeah, point. Thank you. So, going very quickly about this, we all are aware of the wide-ranging applications of the Industry 4.0 technologies, which include artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, data analytics, Internet of Things, 3D printing, etc., etc. So we all are aware of their applications, which are wide-ranging in manufacturing, services, and agriculture. And the other important thing about this new revolution, unlike the previous ones, is that it is advancing rapidly in a real-time basis. So there is no time to catch up for. Earlier first 2 revolutions, they were evolving slowly. So there was a technology others could emulate and catch up with this. In this case, it is day and night, it is running. And so first movers have a huge advantage, So then, like all other industrial or technology revolutions, this is a process of creative destruction. So there are potentially huge disruptive consequences. We will have a little bit of discussion about that. And it is going to lead to a new international division of labor, because the share of labor, in the total manufacturing cost comes down, and they reach the attraction of outsourcing of manufacturing to leverage cheap labor outside. Is diminishes, so the reshoring is becoming a trend, or onshoring, and all kinds of. So restructuring of global value chains is going to be one outcome. The substantial potential for inclusive development and societal transformation is also there, and we need to harness that, especially for a country like India. And there are a number of applications being done on that. So we will see a little bit of that. It is highly dependent on the skills. And because it is highly dependent on skills, the smaller, nimble organizations have an edge, in this technology. So the startups, it's not an accident that they are becoming highly successful in this technology. Now, India's relative strengths in this, revolution are already quite well recognized, and there are a number of assessments by international agencies. Some of the UN agencies have shown how India is punching above its weight in the digital economy. So we are in the UNCTAD rankings. India is perhaps the only lower middle income country among top 30 advanced digital producers. Then there are, India has been classified among the countries with high levels of opportunities but low levels of skills, where we can catch up hopefully. And Asia Pacific Artificial Intelligence Readiness Index 2021, where India was put at the third place, in business readiness, sixth in consumer readiness, and seventh in government readiness. So we have also been for a long time a global leader in ICT software development and business process outsourcing, which gives us an edge in this. We have also strengths in frugal innovations, which could be exploited using some of the tools. But there is already a vibrant startup ecosystem. Government is reporting that there are more than 72,000 startups, of which more than 100 are unicorns with a valuation of more than $1 billion. But what is most impressive strength of India is our youthful demography. So we are, still increasing the proportion of working age people in our population for the next 2 decades. That means, and this is to be seen in the context of the rapid aging in the West, in the Europe, already most of the countries are already aged. There is this graph at the bottom, which shows where working age population proportion is declining in most countries. China, Japan, Korea, all aged or aging very rapidly. So India, with still rising proportion of working age population, gives us an edge to train them quickly and become a talent capital of the world for this skill intensive technological revolution, if we can get our house in order. So now India is also trying to do this Make in India and industrial transformation. And this is a technology which can be extremely helpful for enhancing competitiveness of the manufacturing and Make in India and all that. Because global competitiveness is a key factor in success in the manufacturing sector. If we are not competitive, we won't have manufacturing. So what is IR 4.0 doing is convergence of information technology with operational technology is creating new possibilities of efficient process controls. And there are a lot of applications of these new tools in product design, customization, delivery, and efficient logistics. So India's green industrial transformation, for instance, could be speeded up through expanding opportunities for material saving, energy efficiency, and waste recycling. But the landscape in India of these applications is very uneven. So you see a very wide variation in terms of deployment of new technologies. There are pockets of excellence. There are Tata Steel plants which have been rated very highly by this World Economic Forum. But there is a risk, very serious risk of MSMEs getting left behind if they are not assisted. Sorry. I don't know what. Can you? Okay. Just come on, please.
There is some inbuilt mechanism to stop it.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Yes. So, okay. Yes. So government has to take advantage of these technologies. Government has come up with the comprehensive $1 trillion digital vision. So the Indian government is targeting a $1 trillion digital economy to harness the digital technology and innovations for societal transformation and inclusive development. So there is a focus on IT infrastructure, universal broadband coverage, and software capabilities for future e-governance. There are a lot of applications, this including our Aadhaar, the digital identity. The government electronic marketplace, the procurement is being done digitally, digital land records, etc., and direct benefit transfers. Healthcare for all. We have seen how this technology was used for COVID management, the vaccine management, for instance. In education, a lot of digital education platforms are coming up. Energy for all, the smart grids, the financial services, UPI has become a huge success globally. Agriculture, the doubling of farmers' income through crop insurance and electronic or digital agriculture marketing. And in manufacturing, a lot of things, applications are coming up. And the new kid on the block is open network for digital commerce. So Amazon kind of application for MSMEs supported by government. And then this semiconductor manufacturing and missions are also there. Then for jobs and skills, skill mission is there, online talent marketplaces and digitally enabled jobs. A number of these applications are actually called India Stack, with Aadhaar and the UPI and all. So there is a lot of work being done on these, but there are also threats we need to be aware of, the creative destruction kind of thing. So one is the concern about displacement of workers, job losses, and new forms of work. So gig economy, these Uber drivers or urban company technicians, they are not employees, they are partners of these companies. So if something goes wrong with their business model, they are rendered jobless. Like in COVID, Ubers were not playing, so these people were not protected by any kind of social, protection. And there are rising inequalities within the countries and between the countries. Between the countries because the early movers in the technology are making a lot of money. Just to give you an example, the 5 big companies, 5 big techs like Google's of the world, in 2021 alone, they have added $2.2 trillion to their market capitalization. $2.2 trillion, which is like the size of India's economy in 1 year. And this is economist number. And within country also, these billionaires being generated by the unicorns. So we see huge concentration of wealth and income taking place. And then potential reshoring of global value chains and restructuring of FDI is something which is going to happen. So we need to be aware of these. Now, how do we unlock our potential and, in this new technology or new industrial revolution so that we are not left behind? I think major transformation of educational training and skill generation activities is the key. If we can get that organized and harness our youthful population, then we would have really earned our place in and play the new role in this technology. Now, what we need to do is revamping the secondary and higher education into design thinking and problem solving and coding. Coding needs to be introduced in the schools. So the children, when they go to college, they are already conversant with it. Rebalancing of seats in secondary and higher education in favor of STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But within STEM, we need to rebalance, across the, and there I see a lot of faculty members of IITs here. So it is, I think, the seat structure within IITs, that 100 seats in civil engineering, 100 in computing, 100 in all of this, need to change. There are no takers for chemical engineering graduates. So why do we produce 100 chemical engineering graduates and 100 civil engineering graduates and 100 computer and artificial intelligence? We should have 3 times as many in artificial intelligence and machine learning compared to civil engineering and chemical engineering. So this re-engineering or reconfiguration of IITs needs to be done if we are to take advantage of this. So I see Narayanan nodding. I hope the message will go to the IIT director through you. So, and then I would have done my job. So another, so it reminded me of the moment of 1980, when ICT was at early stage of its evolution, ICT revolution, the third technology revolution. I happened to stumble upon a report of a Bhabha committee written in 1960s, late 1960s, which recommended or which anticipated that there were mainframe computers at that time. So they said, we need to prepare for this own upcoming computer revolution. And Mr. Bhabha was visionary and far-sighted person. He could imagine that one day these computers will be talking between themselves. He could not coin the term networking, but very much like that they will be able to communicate with each other, and we will because of our youthful workforce, we should be able to tap this. We should create engineers trained in computer technology. And then government did not act on it, but there was another committee of Sarabhai in 1973 that re-emphasized and reinforced those recommendations. Then Electronics Commission was set up, and the Master of Computer Application programs were started finally in IITs in 1982. And we have seen the rest is the history. So the same kind of moment is upon us now to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution and change this educational ballgame. I'm just coming to conclusion. And very quickly, closing the digital divide is very critical. Extension of facilitation or extension services for MSMEs, so that they are not left behind. Then innovative capability and activity needs to be enhanced. A lot of discussion in this conference was on the drivers of innovation. We need to do that. The startup culture is very critical. We need to expand it further. And finally, social protection needs to be strengthened, because these gig workers or platform economy workers, they are not covered by usual social protection. So a special scheme for social protection for them needs to be developed or evolved. So just summarizing the same key points, I will not spend any more time because there are 3 more speakers. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Naresh. The essential point that you have made, let me just for my understanding.
Sure.
The new technologies revolutionary technology based on artificial intelligence. And that will change the whole industrial scene. It will also change the global location pattern, because there is a tendency to reshore because of the shortage of labor or whatever in the advanced countries who are the creators of this. They don't want to be the producers of goods which use these technologies, so reshoring. That gives opportunity to India. India is in a position because of demographic advantage, and also because we have initial familiarity, initial strength in digital. And therefore, there has to be a restructuring of education system, both the type of things to be taught and where to teach, development of skills of a particular type, to take advantage of this program, because there will be other competitors. We are also hinted that this new technology and the consequence of it is going to create inequalities everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in the advanced country, more so in our country where the problem of unemployment is acute, a very large section of the population is poorly educated youth. So all that demographic advantage really amount to having large number of young people. They are so poorly educated. They don't come within the framework of that educational restructuring which IIT will do. That is only for elite. So this is a point we have pointed as trouble.
Yeah.
And I think we need to consider the consequences of this solution. May I invite Sir? I think we'll have discussion at the end. With the Lakshmana.
So,
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any PPT. But Professor Nagesh Kumar has covered a lot of grounds. And I have to only add some points to them. But essentially, what I want to devote some time on the mechanisms of this fourth industrial revolution for the growth path, growth process of India. Whether it will be a steel manufacturing led growth is available, or now there is time for science led. Before I come to it, just to take you a brief history, the first industrial revolution was for 100 years, Industry 1.0, 1760 to 1860. Any period, some people have described like that, but there can be different periodization. Textile machinery, steam engine, use of coal was very important. The second was second industrial revolution, Industry 2.0, 1870 to 1960. Why I'm telling you? Because India is 4.0 doesn't mean that India, every segments of India has adopted 4.0. There are elements of steel 2.0, 3.0. That is why I'm telling you. So second industrial revolution for 90 years, electricity, internal combustion engine, telephone, radio, chemicals, petroleum, all that. And that was advent of mass production. Initially, unemployment had increased, but later on, employment-led growth, productivity-led growth happened. And the third period was, of course, started from 1970, computers, internet, mobile phones. It was not that disruptive. Only what happened that it led to globalization, trade in intermediate products, foreign direct investment, global value chain, migration of manufacturing from the developed world. So these were the characteristics. As Professor Nagesh has just told us, that 4.0 is something on real-time basis. What we are discussing after 1 year, 2 years, it may not be relevant. So what consensus is, or people are saying, mostly that now there will be knowledge economy. we have seen. Right? I will just briefly examine whether it is true or not. And labor will cease to be an important factor of production. Only skilled people will survive. This is the general hypothesis. And that is why there is a concern about future of work, particularly in the developed countries. And it is in many places quite real. So whether this is relevant for developing countries, the relevant question for developing countries is whether a skill, and this is my central point of which I would like to build on, whether there is still possibility of manufacturing-led growth in the developing countries. And that depends upon two factors. One is whether there will be competitive advantage of developing countries in labor-intensive manufacturing. The second, will this new technologies, 4.0 technologies, will be very widely adopted in the manufacturing in all the developing countries, including India, everywhere. And then we can come to the Indian growth path or developing countries growth path. Earlier, manufacturing-led growth in less developed countries delivered both productivity growth and absorption of low-skilled labor at a productivity premium. You know, the golden phase of capitalism, all that process we know about that. But whether all these things are still relevant. In this respect, there are 2-3 points. One is labor-intensive manufacturing, like textile, apparel, leather, is not where the new processes of technology may be of much consequence. Mass production, which happened earlier, many people have contended that it may not happen with this new so-called 4.0 industrial revolution technology. So we do not know if the new process technology 4.0 will be productivity augmenting and cost reducing. In some cases, it may be. In many cases, it may not be. So there are a lot of uncertainty. So many people have contended that this new process technology may not lower the cost of production of manufacturing. So that is why there will be still a scope for developing countries. Let me come to Indian scenario. By the way, the entire, my focus is not the entire digital economy of India. I am talking about manufacturing. In here, a lot of digital platforms have emerged. Now, around just a Niti Aayog study which has come out, 7.7 million, they say that there are gig workers. It is only 1.2% of the total workforce of India, only 1.2%. Likely to increase in next 7-8 years by 2030, something like, sorry, it is not 7.7 million, 0.7 million, sorry, and it is likely to increase to 2.7 million by 2029-30. 50% of this is in delivery, app-based delivery services and transport, and other knowledge-based, weight-based, and all that. Hardly manufacturing. So manufacturing is still in India not affected much by this 4.0 industrial revolution. Mainly it has affected automation process by use of multiple industrial robots. And industrial robots still is, their use is very low in India. Something like, one estimate I read somewhere, only 1,700 or 2,000 robots, and it is 16 times less than China per unit use of worker, and it constitutes something like 0.1% of the total industrial workforce area. So its penetration is slow, so low. That is why I now come to my concluding part. I will take 3, 4, 5 minutes. So even now, labor-intensive manufacturing, like sectors like paper and wood products, textiles, non-metallic products, food products, metal products, and machinery, automation has not happened. They are labor-intensive. Most automated industries such as automotive industry, all of us know, petroleum, chemicals, are less labor intensive, and where automation and robotization is taking place. So the impact of automation, and which is largely use of robots, has not made significant effect on the quantum of employment in manufacturing sector in India. It has not affected. The other part, and Dr. Rajesh Kumar had pointed out this. These digital jobs, and when I'm talking about digital jobs, not only manufacturing jobs, are largely skill intensive. And a lot of studies have been done that now there is an inequality being generated by this process because more skill intensive jobs are being created and less skilled workers are being left behind. So polarization of job is taking place, inequality, exclusion, all that. And demographic dividend, Dr. Rajesh Kumar said 20 years. Many demographers have estimated we have already huge labor force participation rate has started to decline. So only 10 years window is left. What is our skill level? Only 25% of the workers in India are secondary or more educated. 10% graduated. So if 75% and secondary education is a crucial degree which enables anybody to acquire skills. So that is why there is a danger that in this so-called 4.0 industrial revolution, these workers will not get jobs which will be mainly skill intensive jobs. That is why my final point is that given the skill endowment of India, given the educational endowment, workforce distribution, we should keep a firm focus on promoting rapid manufacturing-led growth through expansion of also exports and domestic market. And that will be, and here industry 2.0, technology will remain in use for quite a long time to come. Rapid manufacturing-led growth itself will create conditions for adoption or adaptation of new technologies by altering the factor endowments and by bringing learning by play. But although manufacturing-led growth will remain part of the development strategy, and not only in India, like other developing countries like India, but there will be fewer benefits of productivity and jobs. Manufacturing won't be like earlier years. It will be more knowledge intensive. It will be it will create less jobs, but will have productive jobs. Some manufacturing industries will remain flexible, entry points for countries like India, and they will be drivers of low skill employment. And as I said, 70% of the labor is low skill. So you cannot afford to have entirely 4.0 industrial growth. But at the same time, services are both increasingly important, going to be and already becoming for the success of manufacturing also. And also a source of dynamic gains and employment. So there is a need for a balance to give impetus to services, 4.0, digital, this entire digital economy, but at the same time, keep focus on 2.0 industrial revolution, because still we have a lot of unskilled labor. So manufacturing-led growth will remain very valid for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. I think it was pointed out to a very important concern for the economy as a whole. And that is the future of work. Future of work appears to be bleak in the face of this new, in the face of all technological evolution, but the new technological evolution forward is going to be moving far. And you have emphasized in your conclusion that we should encourage manufacturing industries for it. Let me just add a point, elaborate a little more later. That the technology growth and technology revolution is such that if not the highest technology, but some part of it spills over even to cottage industry. You have machines, you have automatic machines, the work which used to be done by hand, most of it. So everywhere, whether it is labor-intensive manufacturing, it is small-scale industry, cottage industry, some technology spillover is there, which spares the labor. Labor content is constantly being reduced. That's one example. The transport sector and construction sectors, which used to be more labor intensive, considerably, we still are to a great extent. Even there, the technological revolution is taking place. The machine, construction machines, all types of machines, most of them run electronically. Prefabricated blocks. Transport sector, just an example, there is a Magenta line, which is very close here from passes from airport, then putting goes to Noida. This is relatively newly built line as compared to other lines which are older. And in this, it said it is automatic. The driving is automatic. So can they keep one person in the motor, but totally automatic. Now the result of that automation is not that driver of course is spared, driver's job goes away, but for the corporation which run the metro line, the gain is that the capacity of the line doubles. The metro line which has been laid at so huge a cost, just by this automation, it doubles. Now earlier the trains used to come at a 3-minute gap, now they can run at a 1.5. Almost, can you imagine who can resist this? So technology cannot be resisted. Growth cannot be resisted. It will take place. And every industry. So we have to see for some of the solution. We'll talk about it later. Okay, now Professor under Mr. Ashwini Bhatt. He is Vice President of Messrs. Trias Solutions.
Okay, good evening, one and all, and I thank the Knowledge Forum and Narayan sir in particular for giving us this opportunity to give a different perspective as far as the industry is concerned. I mean, we've heard Professor Sharma and Professor Nagesh. They have given an industry as a whole overview, and the I'm going to give you a perspective when we actually go and visit those clients and those plants and factories. What is the kind of challenges and we face, and what are the possible solutions we as an organization, Choice Solutions, have for that. Now, this is the mantra which we strongly believe as an organization. When we measure performance, performance improves. Unless and until we don't measure it, we can never improve it. So for that measuring, the first thing is smart manufacturing. You have to be, the machines have to be smart enough to communicate that data to you, wherein you can see what is their current performance, so that we can take them to the next level. Now, I'll just give an overview of what our organization. This was founded in 1991 by our MD and CEO, Mr. KV Jagannath, who was originally slated to be here. I'm just filling his space. And this is headquartered at Hyderabad, India. And we've got a pan-India presence for offshore offices in US and UK. And our offerings are basically in power, IT solutions, education, and smart manufacturing and energy efficiency. Now, this is the last one. Smart manufacturing and energy efficiency is a division which I had in India. And this division has been created roughly around 2.5 years back. Now, in these 2.5 years, we had to face COVID for approximately 1.5 years. So we're all inside our homes. We could not visit our clients, but at the same point in time, what we did is we did a lot of research work in terms of the software development, creating a platform named as Optimon, which is the backbone of the entire smart manufacturing solution, which we talk about. And we are also certified by BE to undertake energy audits for any organization today. And we are also empowered to implement requirements of smart manufacturing 4.4. Now, smart manufacturing per se, it's a word, but honestly telling you, it's a big ocean. So we are just playing a part in that now, and the clients also realize that we have to start somewhere so that journey can be taken together. Now, for that, what we have done is we have certain proven technologies, solutions available, wherein we can offer clients direct savings of around 27% in operational costs. This is mostly the energy bills we are talking about. Now, we also have, as I said, designed a platform known as Optimon, which itself says optimization through monitoring, which provides basically the communication capability, analytic capability, and the man-machine interface. At the end of it, creates efficiencies. Now, with this, we have done a widespread of implementation of energy efficiency solutions, because this becomes a first starting point when we have to enter into an organization and talk about smart manufacturing. As Sir said, that there is a long way to go as far as Smart Factory 4.4 is concerned. People are still reluctant. People still have lack of knowledge. We have to start somewhere. So there is where the low-hanging fruit is. We can save your energy bills. That's how we go inside. So yeah, we do a lot in that area as of HVAC and refrigeration chillers, small air conditioners, as you see in this room, and fixed speed electric motors. Now, these kind of solutions we have already implemented in pharmaceutical organizations, manufacturing, hospitals, shopping malls, and commercial premise applications. In fact, in shopping malls, we are going to do a POC in one of the malls in Noida. We already have implemented the energy efficiency solution there. So we are doing a POC or a proof of concept for the entire climate control. I mean, the entire climate inside the mall is going to be automated in such a way that as soon as people go inside, come out inside, whatever the temperature is outside, it will automatically just adjust the temperature to the comfort of the people there. Now, coming to smart manufacturing. So these are points which I've written. These are fact-based things which our teams, when they visit the plants, sites, this is the current scenario which we see in most of the factories and plants. As Sir said, we still are into that 2 and 3, and obviously we don't go to those industries which they are still in. We go to they are in at least the Smart Factory 3.0. Now, the challenges which the clients tell us historically is that the manufacturing systems or operators and the leadership team, they always work in or operate in isolation with little or actually no insight what is in the chain of command. Now, these machines, which often communicate with individual vertical silos, they transfer the data from device to these HMI, SCADA, BMS, and then data stops. So there are machines which are a bit automated. They create a data flow, but it stops at these BMS systems or SCADA systems. They are not taken. The machines don't talk to each other. Now, the leadership teams and the management managers don't have any direct access to this data, and obviously forget all the derivatives because they don't have the data itself. Now, this lack of communication about their own operational parameters, which is constantly between one machine, impact on the other, can be, it's untracked and unknown, and which obviously results at the end of optimal yields and quality. Now, to make these smart decisions, the intelligent organizations have to ensure that they require real-time IoT data and analytics. Now, components of an IoT smart factory are predictive analytics. So I'll just cover more on this in the later slides. Predictive analytics, machine learning, and obviously decisions and actions which can be effectively implemented. Now, if you see that circle, this is the mantra we follow. We connect, collect, analyze, communicate, and then take action. Now, this is what are the possible solutions which we give to our clients. Now, the systems which are talking already, whenever we are talking about systems which are communicative, they have those communication cards, interface cards inside, where they can communicate with HMI, SCADA, or BMS. And if they communicate, we can talk to them. Which when I say we can talk to them, we are talking Optimum can talk to them and gather data. And if they do not communicate, like for example, there are machines which are not having this communication capability, we create a web of sensors around them to empower communication, whether it is temperature sensors or power sensor, whatever. So sensors, we can create data, pull such data from that. Now, once we have this data, the result is that they start communicating their data, start analyzing their data, and providing insights and the details to everyone, including the equipment itself. The machine itself knows what is the current condition. And then obviously it enhances the operational efficiency. Now, unfortunately, what is happening today, the machines are in such a stage, they are just running and giving output, whatever their output is, they are supposed to give. But the machine, it's like a car. You keep on driving the car, and it breaks down one day. So we have, obviously, there are certain set of parameters which you can see whether it is the fuel. For example, we have the fuel meter. If you just remove that fuel meter and you start driving the car, will you know where are you going to stop? The machines are running in similar condition. So they don't know when they're going to stop. For example, there is an air conditioner here. It is giving us that cooling. It will keep on giving the cooling. One day it will fail. So in smart manufacturing or monitoring, what we do, we ensure that this data, they keep on giving that real-time data, and we can predict a possible potential failure. And it can be anything. I was just sharing with one of my friends over here. I have got 2 air conditioners in 2 bedrooms at my home. They're all same make air conditioners, same model, same company, same everything. So one of the days there was a guy who came to my home for something. My office guy, only engineer, came to him. I asked him, just why don't you put current meters in both the air conditioners? I just want to see, because I'm an engineer, so I had this curiosity. I want to see what is the current they are drawing. So one of the air conditioners actually, the running condition, it gave around 6 amperes. And the other air conditioner gave approximately 10 amperes. That's running. So that was a difference, same age equipment. So there was a potential failure which is going to happen to that machine which was drawing 10 amperes. And obviously I'm paying the bills through my nose as far as that second air conditioner is concerned. So these are the kind of insights we provide to our clients, and they can take corrective action. So as I said, the data is gathered in real time and analyzed. This allows not only the operational information to be gathered, but also the predictive details about the asset. As I was saying, we can predict, of course, possible potential failure. Now, this information which is in hand or data I'm talking about is now communicated to everyone who needs details. Machines that historically operated independent of each other actually start talking to each other. Now, someone here was saying creating a LAN network. So we have automated machines in the factories, but are they talking to each other? So we create that environment when they start talking to each other. And obviously, at the end of the day, it maximizes the efficiencies. Now, with these recommendations can be made directly to the management regarding better operations to achieve reduced losses, reduced wastage, improved yields, higher quality, and obviously the greater productivity. And as I said, all this we can do it from the platform Optimon we are talking about. I'm almost done, sir. Now, this is the data which we, so basically a diagram basically which said once we have an asset, what all things we use a gateway, we use GSM based mobile SIM cards to get the data through the cloud and onto the Optimon platform. Now, this is an asset modeling system. So once we start creating this monitoring system, whether through HMI or through web of sensors, in the Optimon platform, you can hover your mouse cursor and you actually can see different parameters of different machines. So similarly, we can create for the entire plant, by which at the click of a button, you can actually see how the machine is performing. The machine health itself, you can see what's going on. So with this, I thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bharat, for telling us what wonderful things machines can do, and how you can make them talk to each other. Adds to our knowledge for the new technologies. Thank you very much. Professor.
I did notice you stopped correctly at the right time. So you know the value of time.
So in corporate, we have to value time. We don't,
You should become infectious.
we don't get that extra minute with the clients.
Thank you.
So you set a high bar for me.
No. I have saved time for you.
So thank you to the organizer.
Yeah, also,
Okay.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So thanks to Nagesh and Narayanan and the organizers of this conference for letting me have a space on this panel, despite not having worked very much on industry courses. I'm really a person who trained as an economist and have been studying technology since my PhD. I started with work on technology diffusion in steel, did some work on software, and if
No, pointer. Pointer, can you please pause? Sorry.
and if we think about what is happening in Industry 4, it's very reminiscent of the hype that surrounded software and the knowledge economy. I don't know if people, some of the youngsters in this room were even born at that time, but anyway, it's very reminiscent of that hype, that happened in early 2000, what Nagesh alluded to, what Professor Sharma also alluded to. When the industry was software, and I just thought, as we are academics and you heard a lot of facts and figures through the course of today, it might be a good time to step back and ask some more general framing questions, which could lead us in the direction of a certain kind of program of work or another. So one of the big questions in 2000 when software was really happening as an industry was a debate between Tim Bresnahan at Stanford University, quite a well-known industrial economist, and Nathan Rosenberg, an economic historian, who wrote about the machine tool industry in the interwar period in America. So there was this debate between them about how much was software like the machine tools industry. And this was a very important question because the machine tools industry, according to Rosenberg, created externalities for the American economy beyond every other form of externality. So it became like this central sector of the economy from which innovation transmitted to all the upstream segments. And so he sort of drew upon the Stigler insight. There was a source of increasing returns because of vertical disintegration. And so there was this debate about, is software the new machine tools, and what is similar about it, what is different about it. And I think that debate is insightful also in the context of AI. So one, I mean, I'll leave you to read about it. It was published in a memorial paper for Nathan Rosenberg in Industrial and Corporate Change in 2016. Tim Bresnan wrote it. So the machine tools industry was central to the machinery industry. So there were very interesting insights in Rosenberg's early book. So, you know, for example, bicycle manufacturers and sewing machine manufacturers were the same. Singer produced both. And the reason they were the same was because both used some kind of axle technology, which was a mechanical engineering concept. So a firm that was good at doing that for sewing machines could also make like bicycles and so on. So because there was this similarity and this variety that could be produced by the machine tool industry, so it contributed to product variety and vertical disintegration led to economies of specialization rather than scale. So those externality effects on growth were hugely important, and according to Rosenberg, put America in a different league from Europe, which it was catching up with. Okay. So now coming back to this debate, what Rosenberg and Bresnan disagreed on was what was the main characteristic of software. So while Rosenberg emphasized this machine tools aspect, Bresnan said that the more important function of software was connectivity. And at about the same time, I don't know how many of you might have read this really readable book by Tim Standage, who's the economics editor of The Economist. It was called The Victorian Internet, and that was about the telegraph. And he said that, well, you know, people are talking about the web as if it's a new thing, but hey, all the things that people are saying about the web today were said about telegraph in the 1880s. And it's really very interesting when you read the book because people talk about the same things. I can order flowers for my mother in London, sitting in the US. You know, we say the same for many other things, right? I mean, that's what e-commerce is all about. But people were doing that with fax machines at one time. So there was also this book which had come during this period. So this was the debate, like, was it the connectivity aspect which was very important, or was it the machine tool sort of aspect that it can fit into different processes? And I want to suggest to you that, you know, AI is a little bit like that. It has these two dimensions. It has, as Ashwini just said, that there's a communication aspect, which is very important in realizing productivity. But as Nagesh and Professor Sharma have already said, you know, there's also this machine tool kind of aspect that is going to go into every operation. So then, if AI is, so that's the first level of question: is it the new machine? And then, if it is the new machine tool, then does this have the same externality effect on product variety, and is vertical disintegration affecting growth? And should we have a strategic industrial and trade policy for it? I mean, here we are saying, well, should India fit into this paradigm and how? But if this is going to create such a lot of externality within the economy, should we actually do what we did for what Mahalanobis suggested we do, which is invest strategically in the sector? And I think that's a very big policy question. And I just thought, you know, hearing some of the discussion, so I hadn't conferred with any of you, but I'm very happy that I can relate this discussion to what you said. The second thing is what I have been very surprised by and also a bit tickled by is that the sectors which AI has really gone in, which have gone for AI in a big way, are, at least in the UK, law and finance. So the immigration lawyers were the first to be replaced by an algorithm. And of course, in finance, we have a vast variety of products now due to AI. Now, one could ask, you know, is this a reaction just to expensive labor? And is this going to be the low-hanging fruit? That I'll replace all the sectors where labor is expensive by some kind of AI. Is there a labor-saving bias in it? I don't know, but I think about it a lot. That is this, because we know that in the West, every episode of wage increase has led to some kind of innovation that's labor saving. And it's really interesting to ask this question. And then on the same track, what will AI do to Indian software, which I studied all those years ago and which was supposed to be our sunrise sector? Very presciently, when I was doing those interviews in 2000, Saurabh Srivastava, who was the then chairperson of NASSCOM, voiced this concern. He said, we have only about 10 years before they replace our BPOs with voice over internet protocols. You know, they were really aware of it even at that time, that this is going to be a boom that's going to be cut short by technology. And the question is not, so I'm very interested in this aspect, that what is the software sector doing to it? You know, how is it reacting to this? Because they did not make those investments which were required for them to be ahead in AI. Indian software, despite all its successes, has a very low R&D to sales ratio. So they really did not invest back. And one could argue that, you know, this was comparative advantage. They were good at doing this. So what will AI do to Indian software and services? And will the lack of investment by many software firms lead to them being substituted or some part of the operations substituted? I think that's really important to ask and to know. And lastly, data is the main asset for AI. I mean, AI would not exist if there were no data banks. And there's a lot of opacity about who owns that data. Is it a public use? Is it private use? What part is public use? What part is... It's not only in the public sector, I think it's also within firms. You know, which department owns it? Who has the right to use it? And this leads directly to this kind of policy question about what should be the regulation of data assets. You know, should we distinguish between private use, private collection, public use, public collection? Where can we be open and where should we protect the data as if it was a kind of liquid gold? I don't know, but I just put it out here as a kind of menu of questions that I hope we'll meet again, you know, when we meet again, some of you might have done some work on. I realized that the topic for today's discussion was Industry 4 and sustainability. And given my training preparing for exams at Indian universities, I prepared a slide on each, but I'm conscious that my colleagues did not speak much about sustainability. I'm happy to skip it in the interest of time and discussion. If that's your chair, sir. But I have one more slide after that, which I would like to spend.
Okay.
So I'll skip the discussion on sustainability. And I'm just going to go, this is really an announcement which I wanted to make. I have been very involved with journal editing and editorships in the last 10 years or so. And it has been very painful for me to see that points about South Asia and Africa are often made by Western scholars. And so I pushed and pushed and pushed, and I managed to persuade research policy to conduct a paper development workshop targeted to early career researchers in South Asia and Africa. And the overall aim of this mentorship or this paper development workshop is to increase submissions and eventual publication from these geographies. So research policy is taking a public good view of it. They're not saying that you have to return this to our journal. They're saying that we want to improve the quality because we want more voices from here to be heard. So this is going to happen sometime in the next term. We haven't fixed the dates yet because we're still lining up the mentors. So it's a mentored PDW. It's not a paper development workshop, but it's a mentored paper development workshop. And what is involved is that early career researchers defined as scholars who are either doing their PhD or within 3 years of it will be asked to send a 7-page paper proposal. Sorry?
I didn't hear you. What is ECR?
Yeah, ECR is early career researcher.
Really?
Early career researcher.
Good.
And that is PhD students, like those who are near to submission, or those who are within 3 years of having submitted independently.
Good.
So they'll be asked to submit a 7-page paper proposal. And we hope to invite about 25 paper proposals to submit a full paper. So along with me in this initiative is Marianne Feldman, who's a professor of economic geography, now at Arizona, and Professor Adam Jack. Some of you may have heard of him. He's retired from most of his roles now, but he still works with his university. So the three of us will be involved in conducting these workshops and lining up the mentors and matching them to papers and so on. So papers will be allocated to a small group of related papers, and there are 17 research policy topics which appear on their website. So the paper must conform to one or two of those topics. And the papers will be allocated to one mentor. So maybe 2 or 3 papers to one mentor. And then the ECR author will be invited to a Zoom presentation with that mentor. Okay, and those other 2 papers, related papers, and they will receive comments from all. So the aim here is really to think about framing, because most people agree that the papers that are submitted are very good in technical quality. But framing can be sometimes an issue. And so, yeah, you present the paper, receive comments and written comments from the mentor. If submitted to research policy, it will go through the review process, but there's no obligation. And I'll be sharing, the final announcement on the Knowledge Forum website.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be.
I like the year, early career researchers, rather than calling them PhD students.
Thank you, Professor P. I think you have made very important point. Externality and connectivity are the 2 important things which emerge from machine code industry and certainly from and as far as labor savings, that may not be the primary motive. I think primary motive of every production process is cost. The most important cost item is obviously labor, especially when in the wake of rising income, the labor cost is also rising. Of course, rising income of the country affect the labor wages. So the cost, therefore. Before I open for general discussion, I would like to make a few observations myself. I think the panelists have given excellent speeches. And I have learned a lot. And in some way they have converged on 2 points. These are the essential 2 points of panel discussion. The potentiality of the new technology.
Yeah.
And the concerns of the new technology. One way or the other, they have all pointed to both. And therefore it has been a very interesting discussion. My observation is that even technology development is dependent on economic. Economic development is a precedent. We have resources for research and development, spend more resources, technology develop, it enhances economic development, and this chain goes on. But if economic development is in danger, I think technology development also is in danger. And you can see, I'm not a historian, but a long sweep of history. You can see many empires developed. They developed technology. When the empires failed, the technology also. Empire failed means there's prosperity. Failed, technology also was lost. Then again, with new prosperity, new technologies developed. Of course, something of those have remained in the memory or in the sight. So these are always there. So coming to the question of sustainability, Prof, I think the most important question about sustainability is economics as well. Technology is also related. Now, what is happening all over the world? And of course, we have a special concern in this matter. Is that technology, this has been pointed out very well, technology is leading to extreme inequality, both in employment and of course, concentration of income. Not only inequalities within the population, sections of population, but inequality within nations, inequality geographically, inequalities between industries. Yesterday it was pointed out that Apple makes 60% profit. Who pointed out, I think very important. The manufacturing industry cannot make 60% profit. So there is inequality between industries, between nations, between countries, and between people. And these extreme inequalities are becoming extreme. Concentration of wealth only in a very small section of the population. And if you talk of billionaires, very few countable on hand. Middle class is shrinking. This has been pointed out, and it's not only in India, but even in USA and other countries. I read quite often comment and note, middle class is shrinking because their incomes are shrinking. Now, a great sustainability to economic development comes from middle class. They create the demand. And demand is essential for industrial growth. If their capacity for purchasing shrinks, the demand shrinks. And this is happening. This is happening, may not be very obvious, but one thing is obvious, that cycle of recession and boom has become much shorter. Much shorter. Earlier it might take 30 years for a new recession to come, or even 50 years. Now within 10 years. Globally, they are again talking of recession. What is that? Shrinking of demand. COVID-19 period for most of the countries was a great shrinking of demand, but the wise countries and those who could afford it, like USA, for a larger part of that period I was there. I observed. They transferred cash to a very large section of population without any condition, without asking for the income. Just there are some criteria that they selected on 50% of the population, not just the poor. And they were transferring cash and they were getting checks every 3 months or every just people. So by logic, by discussion, or by sixth sense, they knew that you need to put money in their hand to keep up the demand. And therefore, their economy was re-established. And also they took care not to have very extreme type of lockdown, which punishes people ultimately. And among people, the poorer are punished the most. These countries were not that severe on lockdown on this, for perception of some care to be taken, but they managed. China, on the other hand, still is very distinct about it. So without any care of how populations suffer and what, but that's the difference.
Democracy plays a role.
What I'm saying is that this type of inequality will ultimately create shortage of aggregate Keynesian aggregate demand. And therefore, a recession for industrial growth, there will be period of recession. Again, people pick up. Industries start growing, people, recession equalizes to a greatest. Recession is also an equalizer. Growth is inequalizer. And recession becomes the over. So again this cycle, but this cycle will become very short. But without a sustained economic growth, technology will also come in danger. Or the growth, the momentum at which it should have grown, that momentum itself will slow down. Therefore, we have to, I think, on sustainability question, environmental sustainability, and those are secondary issues. This is the most primary issue for income distribution. And I think we should very seriously debate as to what are the means of doing this. The concept of basic minimum income we talked about. People laughed it away if they left something. But a country like America is thinking about it. And in one of their states, Alaska, this concept is even implemented. Alaska is a very harsh climate. People, and they wanted some people to live there.
Mostly tourists.
No, the population. So for the state to sustain. No, it is happening in our country. Uttarakhand is complaining people are running away. How to hold them? You have to give them some income, because there is no income already in the mountains. They have to run. But apart from that, I think one has to very seriously think about this type of transfer, a fiscal system, taxation system. It will be radical change in the system to which people have to. And then the growth in the resources, mop up the resources and spend on direct transfers and on two other things, which are, I think that have been talked about even in this forum. Education and health. You have to spend free education and free health, or particularly in a country like ours, which has, in spite of all the growth, all the good things, all the skills that we boast about. The masses were uneducated, even illiterate. In spite of going to primary school, there is an annual report about primary school. Still wanted. Even those who have studied in schools, they cannot count or add or subtract. In the level of education, because it's all neglected. So education, health, and some others, and some basic minimum. Unless we debate seriously, work on this sustainability question between question, I don't want to take it. So let me open.
I just want to add three quick points to supplement things which is already said. One is on education and syllabus. Nagesh mentioned about low demand for mechanical engineering and high demand for electronics and other engineering. I want to supplement the another point that the syllabus and teaching of these subjects also have to change. In 1960s, we had machines, but in 1970s, 80s, we have digitally controlled machines. So the only talking about machine making won't help. They have to know machines, mechanical engineering, plus electronics and computerization. If that is not added, digitally operated machines, they cannot operate. And digitally controlled machine would mean flexible manufacturing system. So that is a competitive advantage. So it is not merely mechanical engineering. The syllabus has to drastically change the new technologies come. So that is the first point. Second point is we are underestimating 3D printing. Earlier it was mainly used for some medical transplant and something like that. But today housing can be done through 3D printing. Lot of small houses can be built, and it takes 1/5 the time than built in the national way. It will spread to larger houses and other things. What about furniture? And these are all labor-intensive industries. 3D printing, if it comes to these things, then there is something we have to prepare ourselves for that. We are underestimating 3D printing. Third point, I stop with that, is robotics. Professor Sharma said that fortunately textiles and others are not yet highly mechanized. But China has introduced robotics in textiles in a big way. In textile production. The number of robots in Asia are more than the number of robots in Europe and America. And most of these robots are in traditional industries where we thought they have no advantage. So if we don't introduce robots, India doesn't, if China introduces, then the quality of our textiles will be very different. So, this is robotics spreading. Earlier, robotics was mostly in hazardous industries, painting, welding, and things of sort, or in medical case. Today, they are entering mainstream industries, which are very important. So we have to prepare ourselves for these three important issues. Thank you. I'm taking a cue from you and stopping it.
So, Nara,
Thank you. In response to, well, I would like to thank all the panelists. Excellent discussion we had. I have a number of points, but I will not take too much time. I just comment on only one thing, since the education sector was pointed out by both the navigation. You also. No, I must say that IITs have already introduced quite some time back. This technology education has been drastically improved. Now, I'm speaking, when I speak here, I'm speaking for other IITs also. I'm familiar with what is happening in IITs and also partially to TIS as well. So the big data, data analytics and digital are all very well established. New centers have been established and we're teaching courses. Now, why are we still admitting 125 in civil engineering and 95 in chemical engineering? Is that MOE saying or someone else saying? No, nobody saying. We are only doing it. But what we also thought, we will slowly test the water by making them. So IIT Bombay has come up with a very good system of what's called an interdisciplinary dual degree program. So a student, in spite of where they get admitted, computer science, theoretical, chemical, aerospace, economics, or wherever, they can also do another major. This is a major in that subject, also one more subject in what is called interdisciplinary dual degree program. Those dual degree programs are on the interdisciplinary subject. One example, one is artificial intelligence, for two examples, artificial intelligence, second one is digital health. So that's combining health with computer science. So we have established all this, these programs are already in place. And commenting on Professor Siddharthan's point that, see, the problem is not with IITs. The problem is IITs produce very few engineering graduates. Problem is in the engineering colleges. So let's address that. NITs and engineering colleges. Do they have the wherewithal to offer these changes? Let's address them, because it's easy to administer and address these changes in IIT system. Since I've been part of it for more than 2 decades, for some Maltika she's been there much longer than me.
I think IIT Madras also.
Yeah, I've done this.
Yeah,
Therefore,
biology
we have only education. See, apart from our technology development, they are all part of the curriculum. So one latest addition, I would say that IIT Bombay has now revised the undergraduate curriculum, introduced a new course called Maker's Space. Exactly what Professor Siddharthan has said. A new course, core course for all the undergraduate students. Maker's Space. I will tell you more about the Maker's Space. Thanks so much.
Okay.
I will come to you. Professor
Yeah.
Jana.
This is just one point about the reorganization that everybody is talking about now again, etc. There is another factor in it. The world is also going through a strategic redivision. The conflict between the US and China over, China says we need to take our place in the world, which means that the place that the US has occupied so far has to be reduced. Russia is trying to reduce after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Now the whole thing is up for grabs. People are trying to re-divide the world in new ways. Now this is affecting the value chains. Therefore, we don't have just nearshoring, or we have onshoring, which is very little, by the way. But what we are having is what the Secretary of the US Secretary of Treasury said, friendshoring. So they want to, so the Apple plants, when they move out of China, don't go to the US, they come to India. Because India is a friend. That Quad has been taken not just as a strategic alliance, but also as an economic alliance to be able to friendshore the global value chain. So this is a big part of the dynamic, not simply a straightforward cost calculation.
Chairman, I think the panelists have created a scenario. And that is a very rich scenario. Let me say why related to sustainable development. I mean, the point made is very valid. Economies of scale or economies of scope. What you would call it, economies of scale, you call it economies. Both are now accessible. Yes, it's not this versus that. Both should coexist. Mass manufacturing also economy, because this is distributed production against versus mass production. So the possibility of distributed production, possibility of production, both accessible because of IT, because industrial 2. Industrial 2 is not only manufacturing, mass manufacturing, it enables all these. Now, where are we now strengths? We already have a huge distributed production. Informal, you say small scale, you say SMEs and so on, they're all distributed. Can ICT improve their efficiency, as Sote would say, flexible manufacturing or whatever? So I think the panelists have created a scenario, and it's that scenario that needs to be explained, worked out, rather than stick to what happened in the past. Now, if we do that, interestingly, if I may share a personal thing, planning commission, when such discussions were happening, so probably you were not there. Professor Yashpal, the way he talks, and he talked of Gandhian robotics, right? Gandhian robotics, distributed production, but as efficient. It's like these tailors. One machine can make everything inefficiently. So it is economies of scope. What you refer to is brilliant. Don't forget that we are at a stage where not only mass production, other types of production systems can also be made efficient, economically viable. If you do that, it has impact, huge impact on sustainability. And to end, I think this is where I can see that most of the so-called developed countries are offloading their mass manufacturing. They want to create space for distributed production. So I think this is where our strength is, that we still have a lot of space for other kinds of production system. So I think if this scenario can be built, it would be very excellent. Thank you.
And to add that, I think UGC also has now come up with the 4-year program where they say there's all kinds of flexibility, dual degree, one interdisciplinary, and I
You
think.
don't know what they're teaching, so I don't want to comment about.
No, it is, no, you said it is going to make it mandatory on all these institutions to adapt themselves, and therefore let's hope. I mean, it's not just on IITs and NITs to do this, but they're all going to be doing it, but let's hope they will also be in. That's one thing, and I share Professor Sharma's concern about what is going to happen to the huge lot of unskilled labor where or less skilled or low skilled. But there's one thing I would say, when technology came in, there was this fear that it's going to displace work. But it's not so. It's also going to increase, production and make way, but for a new workforce. So that is the future of new workforce, which these education institutions will create. And as for the existing ones, as Professor Hashim said, devote resources to education, health, also to retraining and trying making these existing workforce adapt, give them new and better skills.
There's a declining share of labor
Yeah, there is
in GDP.
that is there, but that, what I'm saying
What
is,
does that indicate?
no, that means productivity is increasing. But at the same time, that it's going to create, you're going to produce more and make way for more,
And it is a long-term trend. That means
I think when whatever, just like technology was there to come and stay digital, industrial revolution 4.0 will come, people will be there to stay. We have to prepare ourselves for that.
I just take the point of Professor Nagesh Kumar has said and then Professor Narayanan has said it. So when we talk about industry 4.0, I quite agree that it's not only 4.0. 4.0 is additionality. 1 is there, 2 is there, 3 is there. But yes, 4.0 is leading to many challenges actually. And one of the challenges, student is not ready because we have different parties actually, what Professor Nagesh Kumar has said about it. And I'll take our what Professor Narayan has said that 50%, more than 90% of the teaching is there in the state engineering college or state department. I think rather than this is one aspect to think about how student can be ready for the 4.0, but at the same time we have to think about how teachers can be ready for 4.0. So we have to think about teacher training and faculty development programs. It's required.
Like, where is the current, when we reach,
Couple of things. First of all, I think repeatedly industry 3, industry 1.3. This really does not make so much sense for me because in my understanding, industry 1.0 was when steam engine was. Industry 2.0 was when electricity was first time discovered. So if that is true, what is the point that we have consistently 1, 2, 3? No, it's not that. 4.0 is a major change, which Nagesh mentioned, the Internet of Things, with machines talking to each other, and a lot of people have been sort of removed from the working. Now the question is, we have been discussing this 4.0, I think, for quite some time. So always feeling maybe next 6 months it will come, maybe next year it will come, maybe next week. It's not coming. But sometimes what happens is, although you keep on thinking that this is very slow, but technology, when it comes in flood. It's flood. So there will be some inflection point beyond which it will come in such a big way. And I don't think we are preparing. I mean, of course, you can keep on saying things. We are not preparing. We are waiting for the day when that flood will come. When that flood will come, then we will take action. Of course, some incremental things people may be doing. I think there are certain surveys of firms being asked, are you ready? How much have you prepared? How much investment you have done? But those are very small numbers. Yet, despite all this big change in technology, the robotics, a considerable amount of automation, our country is a country of peaceful coexistence. We have taxis, Uber, we have also rickshaws. Have rickshaws vanished? There are many places rickshaws are running. So we country, let 4.0 come, maybe in some factories somewhere this will come. At the same time, there will be a factory where a family, husband, wife, 2 children will be working and making some small things that will continue. Because there is market is fragmented. There is market for even very small things. Obviously, proportions will change. So that issue is there. But like Devnath said, we have, although there is always a fear of reshoring to the developed countries, then nothing has come, but it can come. It can come. But then we don't. So ultimately, what I'm saying is, well, be prepared. There will be a flood. When we don't know. But that flood will be there, but still the economy will have peaceful coexistence. And a lot of industries, very inefficient, highly, very much labor intensive, will continue. Maybe their wages will fall drastically because there are things they will find very difficult to sell. They will not subsist because what else will they? They have nothing else to do. So they will try to subsist somehow. That is what is.
Good. Yes.
So another crucial dimension is soil. If you see the UN Sustainable Development Goal report, recent one, India is in the red mark concerning nitrogen efficiency index. The desirable one is 0.3 below, India's is 0.9 or something for years. That means very soon, over a decade, maybe after a decade, it won't be a surprise. There'll be very complex famine and series of hunger persisting in this country. Because one thing, then the CSC released a report recently. The organic carbon is not optimally managed in India. And soil is dying very fast, especially the food grain. Why? Because it's easy to say there can be a sustainable transition. Instead of chemical fertilizers, farmers are encouraged to use biofertilizer. But it's merely a rhetoric. I'll give you the figure. For chemical fertilizers, the subsidy is nearly 1,40,000 crores. And for biofertilizer and sustainable inputs, there's only one scheme, which is called Parambara Krishi Vikas Yojana, for which no missionary, including government, knows how much is spent. We just done a back of envelope calculation. It's not even 1,000 crore. So that's an interesting point. While 100 rupees is spent on chemical fertilizer, for biofertilizer, what is spent is not even 1 rupee. 1 is 200. And biofertilizer is not like, a prescription-based solution. It's sensitive to soil type, agroclimatics, and 3/4 of biofertilizer production is concentrated in either Tamil Nadu and the rest is in Maharashtra. Rest of India hardly have biofertilizer production facility. And organic manure, it's all dependent on bovine. And we don't have adequate bovine, and that's also a sustainability issue. Do we have enough land to support bovine, which can support manure? So that's another crucial thing. We are going to die. Starving, forget Industry 4.0. That's also there. Machines coming. That's on the one side. But we will be short of food, not only India. If Sub-Saharan Africa is not gracious enough to supply, or some of these lands are not gracious enough to supply, how would Europe sustain? They may have patents to it, perhaps. I've been getting very interesting reports. I think I have a student at Portugal. So she got into it. It seems patent in Europe has become something like ISO certification here. It's a procedural thing, what is happening in Europe. It's a fun. So I think Europe would eat patent. Unless we change the land. So that's, sorry. This is also an important issue. I think we have scope to look at it.
That's why, if I can add, sorry. That's why 2023 is declared year of millets. We have to switch over to millets which are less water consumption.
Okay, let me conclude the session. And I thank once again the panelists for excellent position. And all of you for participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Professor Hashim, and the panel panelists.
We have taken exactly 1.5.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. We will have the general body meeting directly here, same venue. Please stay on. Everyone is invited for the general body meeting. All of you are invited.
All of you must stay because next